Hello friends, welcome back to our cozy corner of stories. Whether you're relaxing after a long day, or just looking for something soft and soothing, this tale is for you. Today's story is a little different. It's about a zombie, but not the scary kind. This is a story for everyone, from little ones to grown-ups, about kindness, discovery, and something very unexpected. So, get comfortable. Maybe grab a warm drink or snuggle under your favorite blanket. Let's begin. Just beyond the sleepy village of Thistlewood, where ivy curled around cottage windows and birds sang like wind chimes in the morning, there stood an old stone wall. Behind that wall was a garden wild and beautiful, with tangled rose bushes, crooked willow trees, and lavender that hummed with bees. No one tended it anymore, but it seemed to grow exactly how it wanted. People in Thistlewood called it the Forgotten Garden. Children told stories about ghosts or fairies living there. But old Mrs. Tansy, who ran the bakery on the corner, once said, "There's no ghost in that garden, just peace and maybe a bit of magic." One evening, as golden sunlight turned the sky honey orange, a boy named Emery wandered near the garden. Emery was small for his age and very curious. He liked quiet things, the sound of frogs at night, the way books smelled when they were old, and how clouds turned pink at the edge of dusk. He had heard the rumors, of course, how something strange lived behind the wall. Some said it was a monster. Others swore they saw glowing eyes through the vines. But Emery wasn't afraid. He climbed the creaky gate, his boots crunching on fallen leaves. The garden was still, except for the gentle creak of branches swaying above. Then he saw it. By the old fountain, slumped against a mossy bench, sat a figure. It was dressed in torn clothes and had grayish skin like cold stone. One of its hands was missing a few fingers, and its head tilted oddly to one side. A zombie. Emery froze. His heart beat fast. But the zombie was reading a book. It held the book carefully in its large, weathered hands. Its brow was furrowed, eyes slow and thoughtful. When it turned the page, it sighed a soft, tired sound. The zombie looked up and blinked. "Oh," it said in a low, scratchy voice. "Hello?" Emery didn't run. He just stared, amazed. "You can talk?" he whispered. "Yes," said the zombie politely. "Can't everyone?" And that's where our story begins. In an old garden, at the edge of a peaceful town, with a boy who wasn't afraid and a zombie who liked to read. The zombie gently closed his book, careful not to crumple the corners. The cover was worn and faded, titled Poems of the Quiet World. His fingers lingered on it for a moment before he looked up at Emery with kind, glassy eyes. "I didn't mean to frighten you," he said. His voice was rough but soft, like dry leaves rustling across a porch. "Most people run away." Emery took a slow step closer. "Are you really a zombie?" The figure tilted his head again and scratched his cheek, where a faint crack in his skin showed the pale bone beneath. "Yes, though I prefer the term reanimated person. Zombie sounds unpleasant." Emery blinked. "Do you eat people?" The reanimated person looked mildly offended. "No. Goodness, no. I prefer soup, especially leek and potato. Very gentle on the jaw." Emery sat down on the other side of the fountain, legs crossed. "You're not scary at all." "I try not to be," said the zombie, setting the book in his lap. "I used to be a scholar, long ago. I wrote poems. I taught at the village school. Then, something happened. I'm not sure what. I woke up here in the garden, and no one wanted to talk to me. Maybe because they thought you know?" Emery made a little chomping motion. "People do assume things," the zombie said kindly. "But I decided, if I was going to be here, I'd make the best of it. The birds keep me company, and the books help me remember who I was." Emery's eyes lit up. "You remember?" "Not everything, but enough to feel, like me." He smiled a crooked, gentle smile and reached into a satchel by his side. He pulled out a notebook and handed it to Emery. Inside were pages of short poems. Some were about sunlight on old bricks, others about the hush of snow. One was simply titled, "Lemon Cake." "These are beautiful," Emery whispered. "Thank you," said the zombie. "I write what I feel, and hope it helps me stay human." They sat together in the fading light, a boy and a not-so-scary creature, the sky above them filled with streaks of lavender and gold. Fireflies began to appear, blinking lazily among the bushes. Emery looked at his new friend. "Do you have a name?" The zombie paused. "I think it was Elliott." "Nice to meet you, Elliott," Emery said with a grin. Elliott smiled again, a little more confidently this time. That night, Emery went home and didn't tell a soul, not because he was afraid, but because the garden felt like a secret too precious to share. Instead, he returned the next evening, and the one after that. Together, Emery and Elliott read poems, watched stars, and spoke about everything and nothing. And slowly, the garden didn't feel so forgotten anymore. Days turned into weeks. Emery visited the forgotten garden every evening, sometimes bringing little things: a loaf of bread, a new book, or a sketch he made of the fountain. Elliott always smiled, always grateful. They spoke of gentle things, how the clouds looked like sheep that day, how the roses smelled stronger when it rained, and how certain poems made them feel like they were sitting by a fireplace, even in the garden's cool shade. But soon, the rest of Thistlewood began to notice. It started with Mrs. Tansey, the baker. She saw Emery slipping out each evening with his backpack full of warm muffins, and returning with petals in his hair and the softest expression on his face. Then came Mr. Pevensey, the woodworker, who followed a trail of carefully written poems left near his workshop, verses about the sound of sawdust and the honesty of hands. And finally, the children. One morning, someone had placed a book of gentle riddles in the school's window. It was signed only Elliott, the quiet one. Curiosity grew. One golden afternoon, the people of Thistlewood gathered at the garden gate. No one had dared enter for years, but there stood Emery, smiling wide. "It's okay," he said. "He's not scary. He's just quiet." The gate creaked open, and slowly, one by one, they stepped inside. Elliott was nervous at first. He stood near the fountain, fingers twitching, unsure whether to run or hide behind a bush. But Emery stood tall beside him, hand resting gently on his arm. "Everyone," Emery said proudly. "This is my friend. His name is Elliott. He likes poems, leek soup, and lavender bees. He won't hurt you." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Mrs. Tansey stepped forward and offered him a small tin of lemon cake. "Thought you might like this," she said gently. Elliott blinked. "Thank you," he whispered, voice trembling. And just like that, the village changed. People began to visit the garden, not out of fear, but curiosity, and then warmth. Children brought Elliott jokes they'd heard. Adults brought old books to share. And slowly, Elliott began to speak more, laugh more, and even teach again. He gave little lessons under the willow tree: how to write a haiku, how to spot a kind bird, how to listen to the wind as if it were trying to remember your name. The forgotten garden was no longer forgotten. It became a place of soft voices, shared stories, and sweet herbs growing in the sun. And in the middle of it all sat Elliott, not a monster, not a ghost, but a friend. So, that's our story, dear listener. A boy who saw past fear, a zombie who remembered how to feel, and a village that learned that the quietest souls often have the most beautiful things to say. Thank you for joining me in this gentle journey. If you enjoyed this tale, I'd be so happy if you liked the video, subscribed to the channel, and came back for more peaceful adventures. Until next time, keep your heart open, your tea warm, and your stories kind.